You sitting back, fucking talking shit about somebody. Man, listen, who, y'all talk about Jesus died for our sins, nigga. It's niggas like that who died for us, and we knock them just like Jesus was knocked, nigga. And the history always repeats. Your devil never changed. His way you see God never changed. Dumbass niggas like y'all never change, man. Alright, peace. I'm sorry, man. Sorry.
And this idea, these martyrs that we have, it's 14 kids that's dying in Chicago every single day. And they have this Jewish media, black media, trauma culture, trauma economy, the stuff that Charlemagne the God works for, the stuff that Rosenberg works for, the stuff that academics, the guys that academics, you got to understand, all these people that y'all listening to out here, I'm going to tell y'all, they getting their checks cut. And y'all, I need y'all to really respect what I'm doing, the stuff that I'm doing and I'm saying online, and love the fact, look, I got money, I got my songs, I could go off and just go to, Hawaii and live a nice life. That means that God has called me to sacrifice all of that in order to bring the truth. That's what I'm saying. They don't cut my check. You listen to people that's getting their check cut by Jewish media. George Soros, come and meet with me directly. I told you, you ain't gonna send none of these people that you usually send. Charlemagne, we know all the names. Nori is a good guy. Like he said, he called me this morning, he said, maybe politics is a little bit too much for me. Everybody back up off of Nori. This is like, he was giving a platform, right? Which no one does. There's no free thought anymore. I give you one last bar before I get on this flight. And in order for us to evolve, we have to walk forward. The left leg moving forward is the idea. The right leg moving forward is the actualization. I like the word actualization better than the execution. We need the idea, we need to be realized. We need the idea, we need to be realized. Right now, the thought police have us crawling. We have stopped evolving. We have to fight for free thought, to say how we feel and act upon that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Puts it on. It's always a very fun event. I went last year where we did a Verdict episode with Ted Cruz. I've been going for years and years. I think I went to my first CPAC 10 years ago. CPAC's title this year is America Uncanceled, fighting back against cancel culture, and fine, fair enough. But they just found out that one of their speakers, this guy, young Pharoah, who I don't know what he does, but I don't know, he's like some pop culture guy or something. Young Pharoah has said some very offensive things about Jews and other people. So what does CPAC do? They cancel him from their roster. Now CPAC is being called hypocrites because they're indulging in cancel culture. I don't think CPAC is being hypocritical at all. I think it is the shallowest, stupidest read of the term cancel culture to suggest that you can never have any standards at all. I think it is that kind of a shallow interpretation that has allowed political correctness to advance for decades and decades. And actually, if you believe the argument of my book, it's been advancing for about a century. There is nothing conservative about removing all the guardrails. Think about it like a country. Think about it just like a country. A country needs borders. That was what Merrick Garland acknowledged that Joe Biden thinks about. He says, look, he believes that it's a country that has borders. All countries have borders. And what borders mean is some people are in and some people are out. A certain area defines what the country is, and things outside that area, that's not the country. The same thing is true in our philosophy. Do you think if CPAC invited someone to speak, forget about, anti-Jewish comments. Let's make it even more basic than that. Some guy gets invited to speak at CPAC, and then in between the time he gets invited and the time he speaks, he becomes a liberal Democrat. And he wants to give a speech on how great AOC is and how he can't wait to vote for Joe Biden's reelection, or better yet, Kamala Harris. Do you think CPAC has an obligation, you know, in its opposition to cancel culture, an obligation to put that guy on stage? No, of course not. If anything, CPAC has an obligation to take that guy off the roster, because this is the conservative political action conference, and conservatism stands for something. We're debating what that stands for. But
The First Amendment protects freedoms of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. This sounds straightforward, but the First Amendment is still the subject of continuing interpretation and dispute. So let's look at the freedom of speech, which gives Americans the right to express themselves without fear of government interference. There are a number of categories of unprotected speech, including obscenity, true threats, incitement to imminent lawless action, and defamation. But deciding what speech falls within these categories is difficult. In reaching these determinations, courts often look at speech on a case-by-case basis and consider the context in which the speech was made. For instance, political speech, support or opposition of political figures, parties, and/or policies, enjoys stronger First Amendment protection. If speech is political in nature, no matter how outrageous and offensive it might be, it may still be protected by the First Amendment. So, yeah, this gets complicated. The First Amendment protects you from government punishment for what you say in most instances. However, the First Amendment is not unlimited. It protects you from government action, not the action of private organizations or people. Unless you're employed by the government, complaining about your boss could get you fired. Similarly, since social media websites are for the most part private entities, they're the only ones who can police posts on their respective sites. Similar to freedom of speech, freedom of the press allows people to express themselves through publication. This important freedom enables our journalists and reporters to freely report news and stories of public interest. But this also comes with some limitations. For instance, defamatory statements are not protected. Again, though, what constitutes defamation also requires a fact-intensive investigation. In addition, the First Amendment protects our right to peacefully assemble or gather together as a group for like-minded social, economic, political, or religious purposes. The First Amendment also protects our right to protest the government. We are free to sign petitions or even file a lawsuit against the government as well. And lastly, in guaranteeing the freedom of religion, the First Amendment prohibits the government from establishing a state religion or from favoring one religion over the other.
Of course, it's a betrayal, a big betrayal. And there are no manners, it's silliness, beyond silliness, that the world can base their decisions on media reports. Is it possible that the world's decisions are being based on these reports? Political decisions. They should be looking for the truth of what is happening on the ground in Libya. Then make their decisions.
We asked him what he thought of President Obama.
My opinion I've said before on many occasions. I believe he was a good young man. I supported his international policies, and the relationship between the two countries has changed. But it seems he's been
that it is distressing, these pictures, and you may not want to watch, but these are the pictures that Libyan television is claiming shows Colonel Gaddafi's dead body being dragged through the streets of Sirte.
سيد عبد الحفيظ عودة وقريبا بإذن الله.
نود فقط أن نلفت الانتباه أن هذه الصور حية الآن تنقل لجثة القذافي تنقل لكم الآن على الشاشة. نعم.
So let's just bring in our World Affairs correspondent, Lisa Holland. Dramatic pictures, these that are being broadcast. We still don't have absolutely definitive confirmation, though, that Colonel Gaddafi is indeed dead, and these pictures are of him.
The National Transitional Council have always said, in their words, seeing is believing, because over recent weeks there have been all sorts of reports, for example, that Colonel Gaddafi's son Mutassim has been killed or captured, and then nothing, no evidence. But these really obviously are quite extraordinary pictures, and it would have to have taken some amount of effort and doctoring for this not to be Colonel Gaddafi. It certainly looks like him. I've met him on several occasions. The report suggests that he had been found hiding in two concrete tunnels.
Black people are the worst. They have had the worst treatment. But isn't it also possible that if the white people, the poor people, the people down in my neighborhood, the white people, those that don't work, those that are on welfare, those that have nothing, if they got together too, and you help us, we'll help you. You help us get up there. You help us get rid of some of these people that are pressing down on us.
No, I say you should be just as active in your neighborhood as as you have been in our neighborhood.
Is that possible? All right, we get our neighborhood built up. Everybody's going for something. We alone, there are too few of us. There are too many men up there with all their cop cars and everything.
That's what they're always telling you. Never let your enemy tell you how many of you there are. Never let the man that you're against form your opinions. This is the trick that's played on everyone who's oppressed. The first thing, an occupation, when you have a revolution in the country, the first thing you take over is the radio. And then you start telling the people, everybody, the war is over. And so all of them surrender. No, they believe that thing right there. And once they take that over, they start telling you where you are and where they are, and you fall right in line. It's plain thought control. The majority of the American people aren't segregationists. That the majority of the American people aren't imperialists. But the government is, the structure is, the power faction is. So, how then do all the majority go along with it? Because those who sit in power over the television, over the radio, and over the press is constantly telling those who are the masses how free they are. And how this they are and how that they are. So the mistake is made on your part when you think that white people suffer the same as black people. Or as many Jews will say, well, we're a minority too. Or the Irish will say, well, we used to be a minority. No one's a minority like we are. They didn't need civil rights legislation to solve any other minority problem. It didn't take a civil war to solve any other minority problem. It didn't take Supreme Court decisions to solve any other minority problem or legislation. It takes none of that action to solve the minority problems of these other people. The only real minority in America is the Afro-American. Now, when white people, who are oppressed and poor, supposedly, but the poorest white person can go where the richest black person can't go. It isn't only poverty of in money that we're talking about. Poverty in spirit, poverty in freedom, poverty in equality, poverty in human dignity. This is the kind of poverty we're suffering from. So that the richest Negro in this country is still poor. When it comes to freedom, he's broke. When it comes to human dignity, he's broke. This is the kind of poverty we're talking about. So when you find white people who are poor, with all these doors that there are open to them, any door that you knock on, if you're qualified, it'll open. So when you find a poor white person, he's in bad shape. He's in...
Somewhere along the way,
I'm at a point where I'm frustrated. I have the right to my anger, and I'm saying that people need to fix it. I'm not going to fix what I feel until what I'm feeling is fixed.
Okay, can I respond?
You're not just going to shut me up and say...
No, I'm not going to shut you up. Can I respond to what you just said? My problem with what you've said, I'll be straight with you, is that if I, as a white man, posted tomorrow on my Instagram, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on black people, what would you think?
Jew.
No, if I said black people, what would you think? If that was what I posted.
Well, did you accept that black people... You accepted that black people are Jew? Or
I'll come to that in a moment. On the specific, though, if I simply said, in other words, all black people was the implication of what I said, I would get rightly cancelled. I would get rightly vilified and abused. You, I suspect, would be outraged by a white person saying such a thing, because you wouldn't make any distinction about whether I was talking about certain black business people I'd fallen out with or whatever. You would think I was judging an entire populace by the colour of their skin. You are, by saying Jewish people, on Jewish people, you're not saying Jewish businessmen, accountants, whatever, that you've had a problem with. You're basically saying in that statement, all Jewish people, which is why it caused such offence. And I'm curious whether you, even as you wrote those words, understood what Jewish people actually would feel when you said that, and didn't make any specific references to any individuals.
Maybe they would feel how all my people have felt. Maybe they would feel the pain of when a black artist looks up and they've completely been raped by 5 Jewish businessmen, and there's multiple accounts.
Why does the fact that they're Jewish have anything to do with it?
Maybe they would feel like that.
But why would you say
it just so happens they are?
Well, okay, but I wouldn't. Why categorize them according to their religious faith, their ethnicity? Why would you do that? Why can't you just describe them as business people that you've dealt with? That's fine, but what you're doing by saying Jewish people, these constant tirades against Jewish people, many people find
why
that...
Why are you calling it a tirade? That sounds like you have it...
I think it's a tirade.
Where's the tirade? That was a tweet. It was a tweet.
It's not just a tweet,
and you asked me to explain it. And have you felt my pain yet? You haven't felt my pain. You don't want to feel my pain.
No, hang
you don't hold You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
I'm talking about...
I'm not a Karen to the pain.
I'm not a Karen, and I'm not going to cancel you, and I'm not going to uncensor you. I'm simply going to challenge you on what you're saying. I think you don't understand the pain that you've been causing with some of these comments. And I think that one in particular, I can understand...
Oh, my God. God forbid, one comment could cause people to feel any of the pain that my people have went through for years. Even like the blacks being ushered to the left during the civil rights movement. No one has cared about black people.
All right.
No one is...
Let me say, I agree that the racism against black people has been utterly deplorable, shameful, unacceptable, and thank God the world is beginning to move to a better place about the way it has treated black people like you. However, one form of racism doesn't justify...
No, it's almost in a better place.
Well, one form of racism doesn't justify another.
It's not a better place.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm finishing my sentence so you can respond. One form of racism... It is racism when you say I'm going DEFCON for Jewish people. That's racism.
No, it's not.
It is.
I thought you had a platform where I could explain how I felt. You don't care about how I feel. You just want to shut me up. You don't want me to say out loud what my people have been going through.
I do.
Or do you?
I do. I'm very happy to do that.
So what have my people have been going through? What led me to that point?
My point
is, what led me, a person, a successful, influential, extremely attractive person to get to that point?
I am not doubting for a moment that you will feel genuine pain about the racism against you and other black people in America. Not for 1 second would I deny that.
Racism by who?
Well, by anybody. I think any form of racism is wrong. Any form of racism is wrong.
I didn't say DEFCON on anybody though.
You said DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, specifically Jewish people. You didn't say any particular Jewish person. You said basically all of them. That is racism, yay. And I think if you were honest with yourself, given the fallout from this, you would think again about how you phrased that sentence. Because actually, you didn't mean all Jewish people.
Given the fallout, do
you care about the hurt you caused Jewish people?
What fallout?
Well, you were removed from social media.
Wait a second, you're not allowing me to talk, Chris. You're not allowing me to talk, Chris. Oh, I thought it was the same person.
He's American. I'm British.
So the thing is, I want to bring joy to the world. I'm a composer, right? And this is a symphony. Our life is a symphony. We have so many beautiful ideas, but I feel the anti-Semite has been a wall, a cloak that allows Jewish businessmen, boom, I'll only be the police officer that says, hey, this guy with the gun is the only person going to jail. I'll be the first person that does that in history, right? So look, no one else in this car riding with the guy with the gun and the drugs is going to jail. Are you happy? I'll play by rules that are not played by from my people, just for the sake of this conversation.
I don't want you playing by any.
So
I don't want you playing by any.
That makes you happy, right?
I don't want you to say things just to make me happy.
That's what colonizers do, is give us rules.
I'm not trying to
colonize you. That's what colonizers do, is give us rules.
I'm not trying to colonize you. I'm not trying to censor you. All I'm saying to you is, when you use a phrase, like I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Did you hear what I just said, though?
Yes, I did.
We're past that. We're past that in a conversation.
Well, hang on. We're not past it.
Did you hear what I just said?
We're not past it unless you're prepared. Are you happy that I said I'll focus? Let me explain what
Are you happy that I said?
I know. I heard what you
Whoa, brother! Why are you talking over me?
Let me respond.
Chris.
I'm Chris. Let's respond. Let me respond, right? I'm simply saying what you've just said is not what you said on your Instagram post, and you know it, right? If you have a problem with particular businessmen who happen to be Jewish, that is a concern for you.
And you know it.
So you talk about all Jewish people.
But brother, what is the point? Brother, do you want me to grow from the statement? I just told you, okay, I was in a position where I've been hurt, and this is the way I had the right to express myself. The point of this interview is for you to question me, and then for me to answer and say, okay, even though the same rules are not applied to my people, if a person with a gun or drugs is pulled over and has 3 other people in the car, they're all going to jail. I'm not going to apply that to Jewish people for the sake of this conversation. Isn't that what you wanted? But you know what you did? You tried to civil rights me. You tried to pull me back to a week ago. But we're here today. There's been plenty of conversations and commentary since that. But you want me to go back to 1960.
No.
You want me to go back to 7 days ago.
All right, let me jump in. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to reflect.
Okay, so have we grown? Have we grown?
Here's how we grow. Yeah. Here's how we grow. I want you to reflect.
No, have we grown?
Have
we grown? You're not in charge of my growth. You're not in charge of my growth, Chris.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. I'm about to suggest to you how you may grow if you choose to grow this way. And you can ignore me. You can ignore me.
Pierce, how much money are you worth?
Not as much as you, sadly.
Exactly. So take my advice. Maybe you'll get richer.
I would love to take your business advice.
Why would I listen to you?
Why don't you hear what my advice is and then work out if I'm wrong? Can we do that deal?
You haven't given me any credit or a moment of reflection for the comparison that I made, the brilliant, if I do say so myself, comparison that I made to the cops pulling over one black person and locking everyone up.
I understand what you're saying.
And my tweet having issues. Wait a second, I wasn't done with the sentence. My tweet referring to all Jewish people, I said, for the sake of this conversation, I will refer to the business people who have destroyed me and my people and my fellow creatives. But you didn't even accept that I gave you that. You tried to push me back into 1960.
No, I didn't.
You tried to push me back into last week.
No, I didn't.
Okay, do you accept that example that I gave you?
I understand completely the example you gave me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater
This version tracks the limousine and maintains President Kennedy and Governor Connally at center frame. This version is only in slow motion.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
This is a CBS News special report.
Dan Rather reporting for CBS News from New York. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was shot to death by an assassin late today as he stood on a balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. King had planned to lead another civil rights march in Memphis next Monday. We got the latest on the story now from Russ Hodge, news director of WREC-TV.
The controlled press, the white press, inflames the white public against Negroes. The police are able to use it to paint the Negro community as a criminal element. The police are able to use the press to make the white public think that 90% or 99% of the Negroes in the Negro community are criminals. And once the white public is convinced that most of the Negro community is a criminal element, then this automatically paves the way for the police to move into the Negro community, exercising Gestapo tactics, stopping any black man who is on the sidewalk, whether he is guilty or whether he is innocent, whether he is well dressed or whether he is poorly dressed, whether he is educated or whether he is dumb, whether he's a Christian or whether he's a Muslim. As long as he is black and a member of the Negro community, the white public thinks that the white policeman is justified in going in there and trampling on that man's civil rights and on that man's human rights. Once the police have convinced the white public that the so-called Negro community is a criminal element, they can go in and question, brutalize, murder unarmed, innocent Negroes, and the white public is gullible enough to back them up. This makes the Negro community a police state. This makes the Negro neighborhood a police state. It's the most heavily patrolled. It has more police in it than any other neighborhood, yet it has more crime in it than any other neighborhood. How can you have more cops and more crime? Why? It shows you that the cops must be in cahoots with the criminal. Mr. Moderator, Reverend Cleave.
Apparently, two men approached the speaker's rostrum and discharged shots at him from apparently very close range.
Yes, I turned around quickly, and the next thing I saw was Malcolm falling back in a dead faint.
My mother threw herself over her babies, and she yelled out, "They're killing my husband." I heard shots, and I saw people crawling on the floor. And so I got down too. Then when I was looking out, and I saw someone look in amazement to the front, I knew they had shot my husband.
He sustained one shot in the lower right chin, and the other 6 hit him in the chest and body.
I looked down at him and I said, he's going to die. I kept saying to myself, he's going to die, he's going to die.
How many immediately? No, he wasn't dead immediately, but expired very shortly thereafter.
Peace, family. This video right here is about the preparation and programming of the lower state of consciousness. Now, not only are we going to break that down, but at the end also, I'm going to break down what happens and why you are being prepped to exist and forced to exist within a lower state of consciousness. After I break down the how, we're going to get to the why. Now, that being said, let's talk about the preparation and the programming of the lower state of consciousness. Okay, remember, your body is a physical manifestation and vessel for your soul. Okay, so you communicate through your body electromagnetically through the medium of what you call your nervous system. Now remember, you have 4 nervous systems. You got your autonomic nervous system, which controls your automated aspects of yourself, such as your heart, you know, your lungs, etc., your digestive system. Then you got your cranial nervous system, which is all of the muscles in your cranium, aka your head. So this is like your gums, you smiling, you screw facing, you wink an eye, whatever. Then you got your peripheral nervous system, which is your arms and legs and the aspects of your anatomy that you can't see when you're standing straight and looking straight and they're at your peripheral. Then you have your central nervous system, which is controlled by the pineal gland. Your central nervous system controls all of the other nervous systems that I just named. And so your nervous system is the aspect of your body which helps to send electromagnetic impulses to other parts of the body. Now, your pineal gland is located within your brain, and your brain is controlled by your heart, and that's called neurocardiology. Your heart actually has brain tissues. It has the ability to not only remember, but to think. Now, you have your brain, your heart, then you also have your gastrointestinal tract. That's known as neurogastroenterology, which is called your gut feeling. And this, your neurogastrointestinal tract also has brain cells and has the capacity to think and remember. And so you have three aspects of your being. Okay, your emotional self, your heart, your mental self, as well as your physical self. Okay, thinking from three different aspects, as well as your spiritual self. Okay, so take all of these points of intelligence and hold them dear to your mind as I break down the level of what you're being manipulated. Now, we want to study the outcome of your spiritual attack physically, where we can observe it in what is called neurology or neuroscience, okay? So we're dealing with anything neurological, nerves, etc., neurotransmitters, etc. And so that being said, in order to program a person or prep a person for the frequency that you want to be on, because this is go both ways. We can prep for good or bad. But for now, we're going to deal with the bad. We're going to get to the good at the end. If I want to prep you for bad, okay? If I'm an elite and I want to control you, I want to have you fighting against somebody, I want to do a ritual and make you, you know, weaken your electromagnetic field, which is produced by the impulses given by your heart, aka your nervous system, okay? So that an entity can feed off you or attach to you, I have to start putting you in lower levels of vibration, which can be detected through biophotography or imagery of your biofield, aka your aura. Science called a biofield. So your states of emotion, such as depression, envy, jealousy, fear, all of this can be captured on film to show the strength of your aura, and your heat signature starts to diminish. And so with that being said, if I want to diminish your heat signature, first I have to reprogram you neurologically by prepping you. Now we're going to attack what is called mirror neurons. Now mirror neurons activate when you observe the action of another person or animal with an intent, okay? So if I just do this, okay, your mirror neuron's not just going to go off. It has to be an intent. It has to be something like me lighting something on fire with the intent of burning something. It has to be me pulling out a knife and creeping up on somebody with the intent of stabbing them, okay? And so what your mirror neurons do, okay, is they not only digest the information being processed visually or the audio information or audible information, okay, or maybe even the taste information or the smell information. So they don't only process information via the 5 physical senses, they download them to suggest you to mimic them, but also they start to give you neurological damage, such as nerve damage, from the anticipation now, or nervousness. This is why they call it being nervous, okay? From the anticipation of something that you've seen already and that you are subconsciously reluctant to experience. So the whole point of being nervous, okay, keyword, nervous, nerves, is because you are anticipating a negative outcome which you've already seen and believed yourself to have experienced. So let me give you an example. If you go watch a killer movie, right, and this movie is called Murderers on 5th Street, okay, and somebody gets stabbed and you cringe up like, ooh, and you feel like you got stabbed. That's a mirror neuron. You've seen an intention which was negative and to kill, and your body said, oh my goodness, and digested that neurologically. So now if you go into a similar situation, you're going to be nervous and you're going to be shaken because your body is already intellectually outside of your own frame of consciousness itself, anticipating what it's seen happen in this particular instance. And so now why is this important? Imagine everything you've ever seen growing up and how they show different people, different images of other people. So this is why controlling the media is so important. Because if you, let's just use black and white people. If white people grow up and all white people see is black people killing each other and rapping about killing each other, and black women stripping on the pole, okay? And then, you know, selling drugs and things like that on BET. And then this white person go become a police officer, or this white person become a doctor, and you got constant black people in here coming in here on stretchers from gunshot wounds or drug overdoses, or you the police and you riding through these neighborhoods. You've already been programmed in your mind to anticipate your reaction upon this organism before you even get to individually assess this organism. Now you take that same organism that's finna be assessed by this pre-programmed Caucasian organism, and you show them police brutality, racism, slavery, civil rights movement, the white man, blah, blah, blah. And then what you do is you put these two organisms in the same environment, okay, and you let them bump heads. What you think the outcome gonna be? They neurologically have already been programmed to feud. Okay, so when people say, oh, kids aren't born racist, they become racist. Kids aren't born gang members, they become gang members. This is how. Through the manipulation of what is called their nervous system, particularly through the attack of what is called mirror neurons. They are already being programmed through the environment. Your environment is the circumstances which influence you as a living organism. They are being influenced neurologically as living organisms to be pre-programmed with the anticipation of negative events. Okay, so when you watch the news and you keep hearing this is bad, that's bad, the dollar dropping, this happened, 9/11, blah, blah, blah. What's happening is you getting a negative installation on your brain, which is just a biological computer, to already have a negative experience with the world outside. So you can go outside, it could be a sunny, beautiful day, but you're in a state of fear, you're in a state of misery because you've already been programmed to anticipate that reality for yourself. Okay, and so when you scared or you trembling or you nervous, understand that you having an experience with yourself subconsciously or neurologically, okay, that has been downloaded inside of you as a child. And so now, why is this important? You might say, Pharoah, why would somebody want to prep and program humanity to be in a lower state of consciousness? Because it's easier to manipulate somebody when they're in a lower state of consciousness. And I'm also getting ready to do a video on radionics, which is going to be the part 2 to the video I did on psychotronic warfare, where I'm going to break down how these weapons work easily on you. Work more easily on a person who's at a lower state of consciousness or a state of ignorance. So with that being said, family, this is just the prequel to that video, which I'm finna shoot next. And with that being said, your vessel, okay, is here to house your spirit, and your spirit is manipulated through your vessel. So once somebody gives you, it's like hot wiring a car. Once somebody hot wires you neurologically, okay, they can influence the entire aspect of your life. Because what's happening is, as you're living your life, okay, your own body, the brain cells and brain tissues in your heart, brain, and in your stomach is giving you suggestions. Okay, so it's just like you on the internet and something say recommended for you. Okay, that's what your body's doing. So I might see, let me give an example. If I'm a gangbanger and I see, let's say I'm a blood and I see the color blue, my brain for me is gonna say recommended for you, attack. But if the average person that's a civilian see the color blue, they brain gonna say recommended for you, hey, color blue. It's not gonna be a negative response because they haven't been pre-programmed neurologically. And so a lot of the problems with society have been directly and intentionally instilled in these populations. And so a lot of times what you feel about things or what you think about things are not even original thoughts. They pre-programmed thoughts given to you by ignorant people around you, the media, and with other toxic virus hosting outlets that have came and decided to host you have passed down to you. And so a lot of the things that you don't like, a lot of the ways that you feel, a lot of the things that you fear have been pre-programmed specifically in a particular sequence and format for you so that you can fit the bill of how society needs you to fit. And so a lot of people out here are selling drugs and gangbanging because society has reprogrammed them if not directly through electronics, then directly through the already programmed mediums around them to become this type of entity so that they can program another entity to battle that entity and then program another entity to take the side of the originally programmed entity and say that the other entity that's battling them is wrong. Then you get another entity to say that the entity that's battling the originally programmed entity is not wrong, but it's right, and then it battles that entity that was programmed. And then now you start to see all of these different programs, and then we say, damn, we got all these computers, aka biological computers, aka different mindsets fighting each other, but we never ask who's the one installing the software. The elites are the one installing the software. So when you watch that movie, The Matrix, okay, that's exactly what's happening in life, okay? Exactly what's happening in life. And so, once again, family, this video right here is to show you the importance of protecting your own mind and what you see. And this is why raising a child is very important, okay? Especially the first 7 years of that child's brain development. But outside of that, the mirror neurons in the child. If you got this child watching crazy stuff on TV, it's not only going to anticipate crazy things in life, but it's going to start to try to act that shit out. And so one of the number one examples of this is wrestling. How many kids then died doing wrestling moves on other kids? Or having wrestling moves done on them by other kids simply because they watch wrestling. They ain't never been in that goddamn ring. They ain't never been in the damn WWE. But they done watched it so much. They done neurologically reprogrammed themselves to express this. And so when kids see arguing in front of each other, fighting in front of, when kids see their parents fighting in front of them or arguing in front of them, or they growing up in an unsafe environment, all of these things are programming, okay? So if you a woman and you getting lusted after your whole life, after a while you start to anticipate this. You start to seek out these situations because this is all you expect from the entity that's giving you the intention. And so if you're a young man and all you see is violence and this all your life, and people shooting on your block and selling drugs, not only does this make you nervous, you start to anticipate this and try to express and exemplify this type of behavior because that's all you're anticipating. And so if all you ever seen your whole life was somebody tell you or display to you negative behavior from a particular organism, that's not only is that all you're going to expect from them, that's all you're going to be ready to react to. And so it's like when somebody puts something negative in your mind about somebody else, okay, it's like I could come in the room and I could say, yo, this dude in here, you about to come in here, he a thief. Don't nobody leave nothing out. He might not have never stole nothing in your life, in his life. But when he come in here, you're going to already be anticipating for him to steal something and looking at him funny, okay? And so take that example and multiply that and magnify that by 10 trillion, okay? That's what the media has done, okay? You look at animals and you don't like animals or you fear certain animals because they drilled it in your head that there's things about this animal that you should fear or that you don't like, okay? Because fire is hot to everybody. Nobody's never touched fire and said, damn, this is not hot. Even Buddhist monks will tell you fire's hot. And they set themselves on fire and they'll say you shouldn't play with this. So with that being said, everybody in the universe knows fire's hot. Everybody knows water's wet. Why doesn't everybody fear the same things? Why doesn't everybody like the same colors? Because some of them are personal fears, some of them are reincarnational fears, but the majority of them are pre-programmed fears. So it comes in a way that you release these fears and that you vibrate yourself out of this state is you start to put yourself in situations where you experience, because only experience can reprogram your neurological intelligence. Okay, so you have to put yourself in positions where you experience an alternate outcome opposite of the one that you already expected. This is how you change somebody. It's like a woman who get abused all her life with men, and then she meet that one good man, and she be a whole nother woman. She be happy, cool, cooking, all of that. Because what she expected in her nervousness and her fears neurologically, what she pre-programmed herself to fear about men, has been liberated because she now has a new thought pattern and frequency to exist off of. And so if you want to change the world, you got to change the way you act in the world. That's it. And so the world is pre-programmed to have an enemy. They teach you that all day. If it's this team, you got to be this team or that team. You got to be up or you got to be down. You got to be Spider-Man, you got to be Venom. You got to be this person, you got to be that person. Nobody never says, damn, well, what if everybody just chilled out and just shared with each other and just was Gucci and living life? but they don't allow that thought pattern to come in because that thought pattern doesn't fit the agenda of programming the consciousness of humanity. Sharing, caring, love, being fair, telling the truth, not lying, not being evil. None of them things fit none of them things fit the bill when it comes to programming consciousness. And so when it comes to programming and preparing a person to get on a lower frequency, first you have to give them the disillusional concept of duality. You have to make them believe that they actually separate and outside of the person, place, or thing that they fear or feel negatively about. So oneness has to be gone. And oneness can't exist. And sharing can't exist because oneness can't exist. Sharing brings on oneness. If I say I want to share my food with you, subconsciously, whether I know it or not, I'm seeing myself being one with you because I don't want you to be hungry because I know what it's like to be hungry. So I'm automatically taking you into consideration the way I take myself into consideration. So this is why America is capitalistic, okay? Because it depletes the aspect of your spiritual self being present when you make decisions. And now the only aspects of yourself that you got to rely on is the pre-programmed and pre-installed installational thoughts and software that's been given to you your entire life by ignorant ass people, ignorant ass music, and ignorant ass shit you've seen on TV. And now you live your whole life believing that the artificial preparations that have been given to you are actually what you should be expecting from life. When life has so much more to offer, all you have to do is ask life for what you would like it to offer you. You don't have to go out there, you don't have to go out the house every day mad and miserable and upset at the shit you've seen on TV. You can go outside and find something to be happy about. And so instead of living and running off the programs, clean the viruses out of yourself and start fresh. Okay? Start to reprogram yourself. Start to biotune yourself and repair your DNA and repair your nervous system. Start to engage the things that you fear from a non-fearful perspective and cleanse your nerves and get rid of the nervousness out of your nervous system and repair yourself neurologically. And so with that being said, family, this to a particular person's house to ask some questions. Now, why is this important, right? I'm gonna just give y'all the whole story all over again. Now, none of the females are gonna get in trouble that I name in this story. None of y'all gonna get in any trouble or get questioned.
Shout out to the alien behind him. I know that's your little man that you got, you know what I'm saying?
It's only one female that may be particularly getting questioned, and that's my daughter's mom, okay? Here's the truth about what happened, all right, and why I've been so stressed out involving and why I caught my 2 charges, right? Well, pretty much this video is the truth about why I caught my 2 charges. Let me just be honest with y'all. Matter of fact, that's what I'm entitled, why I caught my 2 charges.
No, actually, you titled it "The Real Reasons My Ex-Bodyguard and My Ex-Girlfriend Pressed Charges on Me." Okay, there we go.
Boom. It was a bitch over here that's trolling me now on the internet named Josh Netter. You feel me?
Shout out to the Netter Report. I see you.
She go by Jocelyn. Now, when I got drugged, it was only me and her over here. It wasn't a bunch of motherfuckers over here. Only me and Josh Netter was over here. Now, why is this important?
It's not.
Josh Netter bought some X pills off Martina behind my back. I didn't know that though, because I don't do drugs. And the only reason I found that out is because Josh tried to come and tell me, oh, Martina be doing X pills behind your back and she know you not with that. So I called Martina and I pressed Martina about it, and she told me that Jocelyn is the one who bought the X pills off her. So long story short, Jocelyn did drug me. That bitch either gave me mushroom tea, ayahuasca, or ecstasy without me knowing. But the bitch gave me something without me knowing. Now, in the midst of me trying to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me, okay, she revealed to me that she had bought mushrooms. Maybe it could be mushrooms. And I'm like, bitch, where the fuck you get mushrooms from? I don't even know nobody down here. I don't have no drug plug. Where the fuck you get mushrooms from? So she told me she bought.
What about her? Maybe she had a drug plug.
Through the airport, and that's why I say she's not going to get in trouble. But bitch, that was a federal crime. And the reason that I put in the video or said that I had the mushrooms and I'm doing mushrooms is because I knew that I could get that bitch out of trouble because, bitch, you just committed a federal crime. Little do your stupid ass know. Okay, the bitch also was high as hell running around here in Katy, not trying to pay for her nails and her fucking toenails and shit that I also didn't know. Running around here and not trying to pay the Chinese people for doing her shit. Police had to come grab this bitch. I didn't even know. She didn't even tell me that. So these bitches been running around doing all kind of shit behind my back. I have no fucking clue. I've been doing the same.
You know, just had to, man. You know, I'm looking at my man, Young Pharoah, one of his videos. You know, and I can see what people talking about, this and that and the third. They're like, yo, it's drugs is killing him. It's making him act like this. And then some people say, yo, it's a show. And then some people say it's just shrooms and, you know, whatever. But y'all are just so disgraceful as people, man. Like, you know, it ain't even about him being a leader. You know what I mean? That's what we get it twisted at. We have the wrong perception of leaders. You know, we just had a guide sometime. In fact, that's what he said he was. You know, we just got guides, and we need to support them guys. Just like if you put yourself out there on Front Street for your people, you will expect some justice from your people instead of, oh, look at him. You know, we know the technology, them niggas could have binked something in him, and any, you know what I mean, anything. It could have been, you already know. Those who know. So what the fuck is wrong with you knocking your man? Even if he did go in that direction, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's what's wrong with our people. A nigga stand up and some dirt pop up on him and everybody want to pounce on him with some crazy shit. Like he ain't even went left. He just he ain't on his usual. So whatever's going down, you better be like, yo, what's going on with my man motherfucking Pharoah? Not this dumb shit like, oh, this thing on drugs and this thing. No, nigga, that nigga gave you a knowledge. That nigga spent many nights and, you know, trust me, I know. It ain't easy, you know. Yo, so to obtain this kind of knowledge and it go in depth the way he did, he literally took you through college. And you want to turn around and call him, you know, a crackhead, all these other bullshit. Like, man, listen. If something did happen to him, y'all niggas should have been first to get mad. Wonder what the fuck is wrong with Pharoah. Huh? That's just period. If any one of us. If it could have been, that's what make niggas don't want to jump up on the, you know what I mean? And go in because they going to be left alone. People ain't going to come. They going to sit there and fall with the, you know, eat the, like a rat eating a cheese, just following the way they've been led, man. You know what I mean? Now you understanding the trend. You understand this shit, but you don't understand it with him. And a lot more other people. You step back from supporting. We should have been protesting. We supposed to have been getting the Pharoah, we gonna need to find out what the fuck is going on. We gonna do a DNA test and everything, you know. Whatever fuck our suspicion is, we would have made that shit happen instead of sitting back. You sitting back, fucking talking shit about somebody. Man, listen, who, you know, y'all talk about Jesus died for our sins, nigga. You know, it's niggas like that who die for us, and we knock them just like Jesus was knocked, nigga. And the history always repeats. Your devil never changed. His way you see God never changed. Dumbass niggas like y'all never changed, man. Alright, peace. I'm sorry, man. Sorry, man. I had to get it. Sorry. It's all love.